Nikki Bella versus AJ versus Paige. I really don't know how anyone can still bash Nikki after this. Now, I've already heard the argument that, oh, it was only good because AJ and Paige kept Nikki out the way, or that they had to carry her. AJ and Paige wrestled each other for a total of 2 minutes. Nikki was actively involved during the other 6 minutes, and she controlled the match when she was in it, pulling out all kinds of wrestling moves and taking some of the hardest bumps. So I don't understand how people can continue to discredit her when her involvement helped create an improvement from the other AJ and Paige matches. If putting on a better match than what was supposed to be the best Divas match of all time doesn't prove anything, I don't know what will. But that rant aside, this was a well put together match, and probably the best Divas pay-per-view match of the year so far. Now, the only reason that I'm okay with AJ winning is because it increases the chances of Nikki being the one to take it off of her, and there's a lot of potential in that storyline and what would follow afterward. But if this was just to give the title right back to Paige, then there was really no point in any of this. But I figured that they were just going to move Nikki out of the way so that they can continue and hopefully finish off the AJ and Paige feud. But it's hard to tell if they're going to put Brie versus Nikki at Hell in a Shell Shock 2 with the way that they're building that up right now. Now, I do like how they're starting to take the Bella feud more in the direction of where it needs to be. And I like how they're giving the Bellas a chance to do some stuff on their own instead of having to rely on the authority to carry the feud for them. Even though I do think it would benefit the story to involve Stephanie just a little bit more, especially if the plan is to keep the feud going longer than Hell in a Cell. Now, as far as Nikki and Brie go on the mic, they've both shown shades that they're very capable. Brie's interview with Michael Cole and Nikki's first couple of promos when the feud started were really good. But then there's cases where either they don't put enough emphasis into what they're saying and they don't have the right tone of voice to match their lines, or they put too much emphasis to where it doesn't sound natural. Now, with this promo, it was a little bit of both. There were parts that sounded a little bit iffy, and then there were lines that they delivered really well. So it's just a matter of working with the right material that's going to be able to let them play up to more naturally. And who knows, maybe they'd work a lot better with bullet points instead of having to memorize a script that was written 30 minutes before the show goes on the air. But as for the idea of Nikki wanting her name back from Brie, that may sound like a stupid idea to some people, but maybe WWE is actually going to go through with changing Brie's name, and there has to be a setup in order to do that. Nikki versus AJ. One of the things I like about this pairing is how Nikki's able to test out a lot more power moves on AJ because she can throw her around more easily. And I like how wide Nikki's moveset is right now. She has at least 20 different moves outside of her regular moveset that she alternates between and can pull out at any time. And she continues adding more and more to that moveset. Now, as for AJ, at least she showed more effort this time. It didn't look like she was just going through the motions or completely bored like she has been since she came back. The match itself wasn't anything spectacular, but ideally, you would want them to hold back a little bit just in case they're going to have a pay-per-view match later this year. I just don't see the point in having Nikki losing clean. This is what kills a lot of superstars' momentum. Even some of the best wrestlers have a hard time coming back from booking like this. So hopefully after this, they continue to improve to fix this. Evil bully Natalya taking on the underdog babyface Summer Rae. We still have no idea why Natalya hates Summer Rae so much. She just seems to like to pick on her for no reason. But anyway, Summer Rae cut a promo before the match. And the thing about Summer on the mic is that her mean girl voice has always sounded really fake and really forced. But the good thing is, that works with her character. And she has all the mannerisms down perfectly, so it's not a hindrance at all. As for the match itself, I'm tempted to think they really don't like each other, because Natalya can have a good match with anyone, but she doesn't really work that well with Summer. And it's sad to say it, but I'm starting to feel like Summer Rae's wrestling ability has regressed to Tamana's level, where she's just slow, basic, and boring now. Her current style doesn't work with her character. I mean, yeah, she has a few appropriate moves and she tries to add attitude in between, but there should be a lot more spark in her style. It should be more flashy, more unique, more fun. Basically, it needs to be everything that it's not right now. Naomi versus her shadow. Or you know what? I'm not going to say that. Yeah, that's an insult to Naomi's shadow because Naomi's shadow could give her much better competition than what Paige did right here. I will say though that at least Paige's character is making improvements. She desperately needed that edge back to make her more interesting. But in the ring, there's no difference between the anti-diva Paige and the Paige that we've been seeing for the last 5 months. As for Naomi, she didn't even need an opponent. This match would have been just as entertaining if Naomi was wrestling a cardboard cutout of Paige. And it's incredible that after all these years of watching Naomi, she still manages to pull out all these moves that you've never seen her do before and you've never seen anyone else do before. So that's one of the fun things about Naomi's style is that she can pretty much carry anyone and anything to a good match. She can pretty much have a great match with a broomstick. Well, then again, she didn't really have that good of a match with Cameron, so I guess Cameron is a worse wrestler than a broomstick. Bayley versus Alexa Bliss. I expected this match to be really fun with some really good wrestling, and it delivered hints of that, but it didn't go on long enough to fully meet those standards. But again, it doesn't need to. They can afford to hold back a little bit until they have a more meaningful match to work with rather than just blowing it all away in a random 3-minute match. But aside from that, apparently Charlotte is turning face, which is awkward but understandable. The NXT Divas division right now is a little drained in star power, so there's a way to add more realism and emotion to the Bayley Charlotte storyline, and it prolongs Bayley's eventual title win for a bigger moment. And it also elevates Sasha Banks to being the #1 heel of the division to see what she can bring to the table in that spot. So overall, it improves a lot of areas, and it's worth trying out. Alicia Fox versus Naomi. You couldn't come up with a more perfect pairing of two divas with such similar styles that can work this well. This wasn't just a typical spot fest like most people would expect, although this did have some really creative spots and counters, but there was also some good chain wrestling and elements of storytelling. Alicia Fox knows how to play the crazy chick character in her matches better than AJ does because AJ pretty much just does funny faces, whereas Alicia consistently plays that character throughout the match and reacts the way that her character would. So overall, this had good chemistry, and this was a different case from some of the other matches that I talked about because they did go all out, but you know that they're capable of doing much more than this if given the opportunity in a bigger match. But that just about does it for this week. This has been the MTO with the MTO More Reviews. That's right, the MTO representing the Nikki Bella saying yada yada yada, blah blah blah.
And the rest of you will be kissing my voluptuous derriere.